Hello dear aspirants, welcome to Epitome IAS. So we are doing the UPSC PYQ analysis and today's topic would be Union and State Legislature from the Indian polity. So the first question would be, the Parliament of India exercises control over the functions of Council of Ministers through 1. Adjournment motion, 2. Question hour, 3. Supplementary questions. So if you see here, what they are asking is the Council of Ministers, so we know that the Council of Ministers, they are collectively responsible to the Parliament. To be specific, the Council of Ministers, they are actually responsible to the Lok Sabha. Okay, so what they are asking in the question is how the Parliament it exercises the control over the Council of Ministers, that is the executive. The Council of Ministers are the executives, and we know the Parliament is the legislature. So they are technically asking how the legislature is exercising its control over the executives, so that the executives, that is the government, it is not acting arbitrarily. Okay, so if you see here, first thing they have given is adjournment motion. So the adjournment motion is one of the way for exercising the control over the Council of Ministers. How? Let us say there is a normal business happening in the Parliament. Then what happens is, when they are doing the adjournment motion, what will happen? They'll stop the normal business and they'll raise some question over some important public matter, okay, which is of it is very urgent matter. So to raise question on those urgent matter, they'll move the adjournment motion. So once the adjournment motion is moved in the Parliament, so what happens is they'll stop their normal business and they start discussing in this particular urgent matter. Okay, so yes, adjournment motion, it actually exercises the control over the Council of Ministers by the Parliament. Then question hour is also one of the tool to exercise control over the Council of Ministers. So the Parliament, the members of the Parliament, they can ask questions to the Council of Ministers, to the government, about anything which they want. Okay, so that the Council of Ministers or the government cannot act arbitrarily. Okay, then yes, this is also there. Then there is supplementary questions. So let's say they ask questions during the question hour and a minister is answering to that particular question. The supplementary questions are asked, again, after the minister gives his answer, again certain questions are asked to him, supplementary questions. Okay, so yes, this is also there. All the three given options are the tools to exercise the control of the Parliament from the Council of Ministers. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, D is the correct answer. So if you see here, adjournment motion, this is a tool for raising urgent matters. So whenever there is some urgent matter which is of public importance, then this adjournment motion has been passed. It requires immediate discussion. By bringing such issues to light, Parliament can hold the government accountable for its actions, so that the government cannot act arbitrarily. Whatever actions the government takes, the Parliament can exercise their control over the government. So yes, adjournment motion is one of the tool for exercising this particular thing. Then question hour, we have question hour. So during the first session, every time they'll be having this particular question hour and they'll be asking questions to the government, the members of Parliament. Then during this dedicated period, members of Parliament can ask questions to the ministers on various government policies and programs. This allows for scrutiny and transparency in the functioning of Council of Ministers. So if they are asking questions to the Council of Ministers, so it will held accountable. The Council of Ministers will be answering, about their actions. So this is one of the option tool to exercise control over the government. Then we have supplementary questions. What are these supplementary questions? These are follow-up questions. Once during the question hour, the member of Parliament, they'll be asking a question to the Council of Ministers or any particular minister, and once the minister gives the answer, they'll be asking a follow-up question and thus that follow-up question is called as supplementary questions based on the minister's response during the question hour. They provide MPs with an opportunity to dwell deeper into the topic and further scrutinize the government. So once they ask the question, the member of parliament, they are asking the question to the council of ministers, and once the minister gives his answer, they'll again, ask a follow-up question. What will happen in a particular topic? They'll be asking question. It just not stop with one question. The members of parliament, they are asking one question and the minister gives the answer. No, it does not stop there. They can ask a follow-up question. That's why we have this supplementary question, so that it will further scrutinize the actions of the government, so that the government cannot act arbitrarily. Okay, so these are some of the tools. Okay, and we have censure motion, we have no confidence motion. So these are some of the tools to actually hold the government accountable, so that the government or the council of ministers, they are not acting arbitrarily. Then second question, consider the following statements. Statement 1, in the election of Lok Sabha or the state legislative assemblies, the winning candidate must get at least 50% of the votes polled to be declared elected. Statement 2, according to the provisions laid down in the Constitution of India, in Lok Sabha, the Speaker's post goes to majority party and the Deputy Speaker's post goes to the opposition party. Okay, so if you see here in the first statement, they are saying that in the election of Lok Sabha or any state legislative assembly, what happens? The winning candidate must get at least 50% of the votes polled. So in India, we have first past post system. So in India, we have first past post system. Because of that, what happens is, whenever the elections happen, it is not necessary to get at least 50 percentage of the votes. It is okay that majority of the vote, whichever candidate he gets, he'll be considered elected. Okay, let's say one candidate and another candidate, they are contesting. The majority of the votes which candidate is getting, even though it's 30 percentage or 40 percentage, even though it is less than 50 percentage, he'll be considered as elected. The only thing is, he should have the majority of the votes compared to the other candidates who are who are standing in that particular election. There is no condition that the candidate should get more than 50 percentage of the votes. Okay, so we can say that this particular statement is a wrong statement. Then we have the second statement, according to the provisions laid down in the Constitution of India, in Lok Sabha, the speaker's post goes to the majority party, that is the ruling party, and the deputy speaker's post goes to the opposition party. So technically this is wrong. Okay, how? Because they are telling it is given by the Constitution of India. If you see, this particular provision is not at all given by the Constitution of India. It is not mentioned in the Constitution of India. Okay, now technically we'll be appointing, the speaker from the majority party, and we'll be appointing the deputy speaker from the opposition party, that is the second largest party with the majority. But let's say till the 10th Lok Sabha, we did not follow this particular procedure. Okay, even the deputy speaker, he belonged to the ruling party. Then after that, what happened is, this deputy speaker's post was given to the opposition party, but this was done by a convention. Okay, by a convention, consensus among the members, all the parties, we have the consensus, and then we are doing this particular thing. It is not mentioned in the Constitution of India. Even though we are following this right now, it is not directly mentioned in the Constitution of India. It is only done by the Parliament consensus. So we can eliminate this option actually. So what would be the correct answer? Option D, neither 1 nor 2 is the correct answer. So if you see here in India, first past the post system, this is what we follow. First past the post system of election for the Lok Sabha and the state legislative assembly. So both in case of Lok Sabha and in case of the state legislative assembly, we'll be following the same this system. first past post system. So what will happen is whichever candidate he gets the majority of the vote, not necessarily more than the 50 percentage of the vote. Okay, even though he is getting less than 50 percentage of the vote, he'll be considered elected once he's getting majority of the vote compared to other candidates. Okay, so that is first past post system. Then the Constitution of India has adopted the system of territorial representation. So in case of both the Lok Sabha selection and the state legislative assembly, in both these cases, we are actually having the Constitution of India actually provides for the system of territorial representation, which means each section is each part is divided with constituency. Okay, whole India is divided into constituency, and each constituency is represented by a particular member. Okay, so that is territorial representation. Under this system, MP or MLA represents a geographical area known as constituency. A particular geographical area is represented by that particular MP or that particular MLA. So this is technically the representation of that particular territory. Okay, from each constituency, only one representative is elected. So every constituency they'll be electing only one member from that particular constituency in case of MP or in case of MLA. Okay, we are talking about the MPs, that is the Lok Sabha, not the Rajya Sabha. Okay, then hence such a constituency is known as a single member constituency. In this system, a candidate who secures the majority of the votes are declared elected. Not necessarily, let's say, they are not getting more than 50 percentage of the votes. Still, they are considered elected. Okay, because they are getting the majority of the votes. Then till the 10th Lok Sabha, both the deputy speaker and the speaker, they both belong to the ruling party. Then after, that the speaker's post belong to the ruling party as usual, and the deputy speaker's post will be belonging to the opposition party. And this is not technically mentioned in the constitution. It is done by the parliamentary consensus among the political parties. Okay, from the 11th Lok Sabha, there has been consensus that the post of deputy speaker goes to the main opposition party and the speaker comes from the ruling party. So this is technically a informal consensus. Okay, it is not a constitutional provision. That's what they are saying. Then next question, the Parliament of India acquires the power to legislate on any item in the state list in the national interest if a resolution to that effect is passed by a Lok Sabha by a simple majority of its total membership. B. Lok Sabha by a majority not less than 2/3 of its total membership. C. Rajya Sabha by the simple majority of its total membership. Rajya Sabha by the majority not less than 2/3 of its members present and voting. So if you see here, what they are saying is the Parliament of India, it acquires the power to legislate any item in the state list in the national interest. So when the Parliament has the power to legislate in the state list, that's what they are asking. How the Parliament get the power? Okay. So if you see, we know that we have union list, we have state list, we have concurrent list. And the union list, the union government, it has that particular domain to. These are the some of the subjects which are related to the directly related to the national importance. Okay. So the state government cannot interfere in that particular list. And just like that, the state list, the union government cannot interfere in the state list because the state list is a complete, this domain is available only to the state government. But there are some cases in which, let's say, because of some national importance, the union government want to make a law that belongs to the state list. Then what will happen is the Rajya Sabha, it should pass a resolution. Okay, once the resolution is passed, then the Parliament acquires the power to legislate certain law in the state list. Okay, so to acquire that law, Rajya Sabha, it should pass a resolution. Okay, so these two options they are talking about Lok Sabha. We can eliminate that option. Now, in this C and D, it is talking about Rajya Sabha, but the majority. How much majority is needed? If you see to pass this resolution, a special majority, a majority of not less than 2/3 of the members present and voting. So this is the majority which is needed. So option D is the correct answer. So once the Rajya Sabha passes the resolution with this particular majority, then what will happen? Then the parliament acquires the power to legislate in the state list. Okay, only in the case of national interest. In case of a national interest, when the Rajya Sabha is passing this resolution, the parliament acquires the power to legislate in the state list. And if you see here, the majority is not less than 2/3 of its member of present and voting. 2/3 means it is one of the highest majority. Okay, so they are technically saying that to get this power, to acquire the power of enacting law in the state list, the parliament needs, to pass this resolution, and it needs 2/3 of the majority. So which means it is very difficult process. So once you do this particular process, then only you can make laws in the state list. Okay, so that's what they are saying. Then, so that's it. See this union list. We have the list. This list contains some subjects of national importance like defense, foreign affairs, currency, etc. And only the parliament can make the law on this subject. On the union list, only the parliament can make the law. The state legislatures, they don't have power to make law in the union list, and union list contains those subjects which are of national importance like defense, foreign affairs, and currency, etc. Okay, then we have state list. So state list contains those subjects which are of importance to the individual states. Okay, example police, public order, agriculture, etc. So only the state legislatures are having the power to legislate in the state list, and the union government does not have the power to legislate laws in the state list, with one exception. When the Rajya Sabha is passing the resolution, then the parliament will acquire the power to legislate from the state list. However, there can be situations where the national interest require the parliament to make laws on the subject that are normally falls under the state list. Then this particular power is given by Article 249. So the 249, Article 249 provides for the parliament to legislate on an item that is mentioned in the state list by moving a resolution in the Rajya Sabha with how much majority? 2/3 of the majority present and voting. So, Rajya Sabha resolution, the upper house of the parliament, Rajya Sabha needs to pass a resolution by a special majority, not less than 2/3 of the members present and voting. This ensured that there is a broad agreement on the need for the parliament to intervene. Next question. Which of the following statements are correct? Statement 1. A bill pending in the Lok Sabha lapses on its prorogation. Statement 2. A bill pending in the Rajya Sabha which has not been passed by the Lok Sabha shall not lapse on the dissolution of Lok Sabha. So usually we know that the Lok Sabha, it goes through dissolution once every 5 years, and sometimes it also goes through premature dissolution before the completion of the 5 years term also. So what they are asking in the question is, whenever a particular bill is pending in the parliament, there are different cases. Okay, in those times, during the time of dissolution of Lok Sabha, we are talking about the Lok Sabha, so will the bill lapse or will the bill be there? So if you see, first statement is a bill pending in Lok Sabha lapses on its prorogation. So prorogation means the end of the session of the parliament. So when once the end of the session of the parliament happens, it does not actually lapse the bill. Okay, the bill which are pending in both the Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, they are not getting lapsed. So what they are saying is a bill pending in Lok Sabha lapses. So we can say this particular statement is a wrong statement. The Lok Sabha is not dissolving here. Only the prorogation is happening. Prorogation is end of that particular session is happening. So in that case, what will happen? The bill will not lapse. So we can eliminate this option. Then Statement 2, a bill pending in Rajya Sabha which has not been passed by the Lok Sabha shall not lapse on the dissolution of Lok Sabha. So in the second statement, they are talking about the dissolution of Lok Sabha. Okay, just like that, we saw every 5 years the Lok Sabha dissolves, and there are some cases it will dissolve prematurely, even before completion of the 5 years. So what they are saying is when the Lok Sabha lapses and a bill is pending in Rajya Sabha, but which is not been passed by the Lok Sabha. So what will happen is the Lok Sabha didn't actually pass this particular bill. Only this bill is pending in the Rajya Sabha. Okay, in that case, it is not necessarily this bill will lapse. Okay, so this statement is a correct statement. So option 2B is the correct statement. So prorogation refers to the ending of the session of the parliament. So whenever the prorogation happens, the bill will not lapse when the next sitting or the next session of the parliament is going to happen. This bill will be continued. Okay, it will not lapse. Then when a session is prorogued, all pending legislative businesses including bills remains in the same status until the next session is conducted. Then if a bill is pending in the Lok Sabha, when the session ends due to the prorogation, it does not automatically, lapse the bill. Okay. Then it continues to be pending and can be taken up for consideration in the next session. And these are some of the conditions when the bill lapse. Okay. During the dissolution of Lok Sabha, there are some conditions when the bill will actually get lapsed. What are these conditions? When first point is when a bill that originates in Lok Sabha and remains pending in the lower house itself is considered lapse with the dissolution of Lok Sabha. So the first condition, the first case is, let's say the Lok Sabha is, there is a bill which is pending in the Lok Sabha itself and it got introduced in the Lok Sabha itself, and this bill does not get passed, it is pending. Then during the dissolution of the Lok Sabha, this bill will also get lapsed. Then the second condition is the second case is a bill that originates and passed by the Rajya Sabha, but it is pending in Lok Sabha also lapses with the dissolution of lower house, that is the Lok Sabha. So what they are saying is, let's say a bill which was introduced in the Rajya Sabha, and the Rajya Sabha passed that particular bill, and now it is transmitted to the Lok Sabha, and the bill is pending in the Lok Sabha, but the Lok Sabha got dissolved in this time period. Then what will happen? The bill will get lapsed. Okay, these are the two conditions. Then third condition is bills that originate and are passed in Lok Sabha but are pending in the Rajya Sabha also considered to be lapsed. Let's say there is a bill which got originated from the Lok Sabha and it got passed by the Lok Sabha. Now it is transmitted to the Rajya Sabha, but the bill is pending in the Rajya Sabha. During this time, the Lok Sabha gets dissolved, then also this particular bill will be lapsed. Okay. Then next case is bill that originates and passed in Rajya Sabha, but it is returned with amendments to the upper house by the Lok Sabha, then does not get the clearance of Rajya Sabha, is considered to have lapsed on the date of dissolution of lower house. Let's say there is a bill which got originated from the Rajya Sabha, and after getting passed in Rajya Sabha, they are transmitting it to the Lok Sabha, but the Lok Sabha has given some amendments to the bill. Okay, it does not pass the bill. It has mentioned some amendments to the bill, so it get the Rajya Sabha again. Then in this case also, when the Lok Sabha get dissolved, this bill will be lapsed. Okay, so these are the cases when the bill will lapse during the dissolution of Lok Sabha, and there are some cases when the bill will not lapse during the dissolution of Lok Sabha. So what are these cases? First case, a bill that is pending in Rajya Sabha but is not passed by the Lok Sabha. Let's say there is a bill which is actually pending in Rajya Sabha, but it has not actually passed by the Lok Sabha also, not by the Rajya Sabha also. In that case, during the dissolution of Lok Sabha, this bill does not lapse. Okay, then next case is bills that have cleared both the houses but are pending assent from the president. Okay. If the president has notified the holding of joint sitting before the dissolution of Lok Sabha. So these is 2 points actually. This is different point and this is different point. Let's say the bills have been passed in both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha and the bill is waiting for the assent of the president. Then also it is considered that the bill is not lapsed. Okay. Then the next case is if the president has notified the holding of joint sitting before the dissolution of Lok Sabha. Let's say there is a disagreement. Whenever this thing will happen, you tell me whenever the joint sitting will be happening, when there is a disagreement between the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha regarding a bill. In that case, the president calls both the houses for joint sitting. Let's say before the dissolution of this Lok Sabha, the president called for a joint sitting and then this dissolution of Lok Sabha happened. Then what will happen? This bill will not get lapsed. Why? Because the new Lok Sabha will come and it will attend the joint sitting. Okay. So this is also there. Then a bill passed by both the houses but returned by the president for reconsideration of Rajya Sabha. So let's say the bill is passed by both the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, but it is given to the president for his assent. The president sent the bill for reconsideration. In that case also, the bill does not lapse when the new Lok Sabha will be elected. Then this particular bill will be passed again. Okay. Then pending bills and all pending assurance that are to be examined by the committee on government assurance. Let's say there are some pending bills or some pending assurances which are there and the Lok Sabha got dissolved. And these pending bills and pending assurance are to be examined by the committee on government assurance. In that case also what will happen? The bill will not get lapsed. Then next question, consider the following statements. Statement 1, the legislative council of a state in India can be larger in size than half of the legislative assembly of that particular state. Statement 2, the governor of a state nominates the chairman of the legislative council of that particular state. So they are talking about the legislative councils of the states. So just like in case of the parliament, the central legislature, we have bicameral legislature and we have the upper house, that is the Rajya Sabha, and we have the lower house, that is the Lok Sabha. Just like this, in some of the states, not all the states, some of the states we have bicameral legislature. So they'll be having a state legislative assembly and they'll be having a state legislative council. Okay. In six states we have this particular bicameral legislature and most of the states we have only a unicameral legislature. We only have the state legislative assemblies. So in case of this bicameral legislature, in the state legislative councils, they are saying that the state legislative council of a state can have larger in size than half of the legislative assembly. So this statement is actually wrong. Why? Because the constitution clearly mentions whenever a state has a state legislative council, the size of the state legislative council should be, less than 1/3 of the total members of the state legislative assembly. So let's say there is a state and they have certain number of seats in that particular state legislative assembly. So in that particular state legislative council, the number of seats should be only 1/3 of the seats of the state legislative assembly. Okay, this is what is given by the Constitution of India. So we can eliminate this option. Then statement 2, the governor of a state nominates the chairman of the legislative council of that particular state. No, this is wrong. The governor does not nominate any person as the chairman of the legislative council. The chairman of the legislative council is chosen among the members of the legislative council. So this is also wrong. So what would be the correct answer? D, neither one nor two. So if you see here, the legislative council cannot be larger than one third of the legislative assembly as per Article 171 of the Constitution. So Article 171 clearly mentions that the size of the legislative councils of any state should not be more than one third of the size of the legislative assembly of that particular state. So different state will be having different strength of the legislative assembly. So of that particular state, it should be less than one third of the particular legislative assembly. Then additionally, it must have at least 40 members. So maximum it can have one third of the total members of the legislative assembly. So minimum it should have 40 members. So this is the condition which is given on the strength of the legislative councils by the Constitution of India. Then there isn't a legislative council in every state of India. As I already told you, most of the states they don't have the legislative council, they only have the legislative assembly. Only 6 states we have the legislative council. What are these 6 states? Bihar, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Karnataka, Maharashtra, and Uttar Pradesh. So these are the 6 states where we are having the legislative council as well as the legislative assembly. Apart from these states, these 6 states, we are only having the legislative assemblies, that is the unicameral legislature. We don't have the state legislative councils. And if you see Article 169 of the Constitution, it talks about the creation or the abolition of the legislative council. So let's say there is a state which originally it does not had any legislative council. So to create a new legislative council, what is the procedure for this particular state? To create the new state legislative council, the parliament. So the parliament by the simple majority, it can create a legislative council only when there is a resolution passed by that concerned state, okay, with a special majority. So let's say this particular state, it wants to create a new legislative council, then this particular state should pass a resolution with the special majority, that is a majority of total membership of the house and the majority not less than 2/3 of the members present and voting. So this much majority is needed. So once the resolution is passed by the state legislature, then the parliament with a simple majority, it can create a new legislative council for that particular state. Let's say there is a state which already has a legislative council and it want to abolish this particular legislative council. So again the same process is followed. First what will happen, the state legislature, they will be for passing this resolution of same special majority. Then the parliament will be abolishing this particular legislative council by the simple majority. Okay. However, a resolution passed by the legislative assembly of the state for creation and abolition of the council is not binding on the parliament. So this is what you have to see. What is that? Is whenever the state legislature, let's say for creation or in case of abolition also, both in creation or in case of abolition, when the state legislature they pass the resolution, it does not mean that the parliament must abolish or must create the legislative council. So it is not binding on the parliament whether even if the state legislature passes the resolution, this is not binding on the parliament to whether to create or to abolish the legislative councils. Then next question, consider the following statements. Statement 1, the Rajya Sabha has no power either to reject or to amend the money bill. Statement 2, the Rajya Sabha cannot vote on demands for grants. Statement 3, Rajya Sabha cannot discuss the annual financial statement. So if you see here, in last class we actually discussed about there are some special powers given to the Rajya Sabha. And there are some other special powers given to the Lok Sabha also. In most cases, both the powers of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha are same. But apart from that, there are some special powers given to Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha separately. So in this case, they are talking about the Rajya Sabha. If you see here, the first statement says the Rajya Sabha has no power either to reject or to amend the money bill. Yes, this is true. The Rajya Sabha, it does not have the power to amend the money bill or to reject the money bill. Okay, when we read about the money bill, we saw that the money bill can only be introduced in the Lok Sabha. That is a special provision, special power given to Lok Sabha. And once the money bill has been passed in the Lok Sabha and it is transmitted to the Rajya Sabha, the Rajya Sabha does not have the power to reject or amend the money bill. The Rajya Sabha has only power to, make recommendations. And even though it makes recommendations also, it is not obligatory to the Lok Sabha. It is not binding on the Lok Sabha. So the recommendations, if the Lok Sabha, it can accept also, it can reject also. Okay. So we saw that in case of a money bill, the Lok Sabha has a upper hand. It has some special powers compared to the Rajya Sabha. So the first statement says Rajya Sabha has no power either to reject or amend the money bill. Yes, this is true. Rajya Sabha does not have, power to reject or amend the money bill. This is true. Then the Rajya Sabha cannot vote on demands for grant. So whenever the passage of budget, during the passage of budget, we'll be having the demand for grants. And only the Lok Sabha, they'll be voting for the demands for grants. Yes, the Rajya Sabha does not have the power to vote on the demands for grants. This is also a correct statement. Then Rajya Sabha cannot discuss the annual financial statement. Annual financial statement is nothing but what? Budget. So they are saying the Rajya Sabha does not have the power to discuss the budget. So if you see, Rajya Sabha has the power to discuss the budget. It does not have the power to vote, but it has the power to discuss. So this statement is a wrong statement. So correct answer would be 1, 2. Option B is the correct answer. The next question, when a bill is referred to a joint sitting, both the houses of the parliament has to be passed by a simple majority of members present and voting. Option B, 3/4 majority of the members present and voting. Option C, 2/3 majority of the house. Option D, absolute majority of the house. So whenever there is, the case of joint sitting, we have joint sitting when there is a disagreement between the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha on a particular matter. When, let's say, there is a deadlock which has been created in the passage of the bill, then the president calls for the joint sitting. He'll be calling both the houses. Let us say, I'll give you an example. Let us say we have Lok Sabha, we have Lok Sabha, and we have Rajya Sabha. Let's say the Lok Sabha is somewhat a bigger room and it has more number of people in it. And let's say we have Rajya Sabha, it is a small room and it has very less number of people compared to the Lok Sabha. Now what happens is, usually to pass a bill, it can be either introduced in Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. Once one house has passed that particular bill, it will be transmitted to another house and again this bill will be passed in the other house. When this bill is passed in both the houses, it will get assent from the president and the bill will become a law. So now what happens when, let's say, Lok Sabha has passed a particular bill and Rajya Sabha it is not passing that particular bill, then the bill will not get passed, right? Or vice versa. Let's say the Rajya Sabha it passed a particular bill, but the Lok Sabha is not ready to pass that particular bill. In this case, her deadlock will be created, and let's say this bill is one of a important bill which must be passed. In that case, the president will call for the joint sitting. In the joint sitting, what happens is both these people, both the people from Lok Sabha and the people from Rajya Sabha, they'll be sitting together. They'll be together, and now the particular bill, the same bill will be, they'll try to pass this particular bill. So what will happen is here, this majority, what majority is needed? Only simple majority is needed. Just like for the passage of any particular bill, they need simple majority for majority of the cases, not all cases. Say they need a simple majority in the normal case. In Lok Sabha, they need simple majority. In Rajya Sabha, they need simple majority. So in case of joint sitting also, they need only simple majority. So most of the cases, whenever this joint sitting will happen, what will happen? The bill will get passed or the bill will get reduced. Whatever the Lok Sabha wants, whether the Lok Sabha wants to pass the bill, it will happen. whether the Lok Sabha wants to not to pass the bill, then that will happen. Why? Because when these two people are sitting together, we know the Lok Sabha has more number of people, and with simple majority they can easily, whatever they want, the Lok Sabha want to pass, they can easily pass the bill. So what would be the correct answer? A simple majority of members present and voting, that is what is needed in case of a joint sitting. Okay, just like the case of a original bill, like a normal bill, they need simple majority. The same simple majority is needed in case of joint sitting also. So the answer is option A, that is the correct answer. So with that we have come to the end of this video, so we'll be seeing in the next class. Thank you, students.